Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's having an awesome time in Chicago. As they mentioned, we are the last session before lunch, and so we are going to hopefully make you even more hungry than you are today. Last year, we came up here with Bojangles and Checkers, and we talked about best-in-class versus all-in-one, and they are kind of the start of the digital journey that they had in the space. Today, we're going to talk with an industry veteran, and before we do so, and before we eat lunch, we're going to talk about some real food.
On the Chipotle app, you get real food from real people. We're talking handmade guac, handmade salsa, and handmade burritos. All now available with handmade ordering. Handmade is kind of our thing. Chipotle, for real.
Awesome. Now, it is my pleasure to bring our next guest up onto the stage with me. Born and raised in Norman, Oklahoma, and a graduate of the University of Oklahoma in journalism and advertising before moving on to SMU to get his MBA. He's been at some amazing brands such as Southwest Airlines, Fresh Pear, JCPenney, TGI Fridays, and for the last 6+ years, he has been the man behind the unicorn we call Chipotle. Please welcome and joining Jason Scoggins. Thank you so much for being here. For sure. All right, so we've got a lot to talk about and not a lot of time. Let's dive in. So for those of you who don't know Jason, he is a student of the game. He is a professional when it comes to loyalty and customer activation, and he takes this passion with him to work every single day. So what I want to start with, Jason, is where does this passion come from, and how does it translate into what you're up to at Chipotle?
Yeah, so I mean, loyalty has always been something that has been top of mind for me, both first as a consumer, and then professionally, the career I've chosen. And you know, it's important in my mind. Like everything starts at that relationship with the guest. And you know, it doesn't matter how great your food is, how great your service is, if you don't have that relationship with the guest and make the guest feel like they are part of the brand, you're never going to achieve your ultimate goals. You know, at Chipotle, we're in a very fortunate space. We do have a lot of those raging fans that Velvet Taco was talking about that they have as well. And that's great. But if you don't act upon it and you don't take their data and understand them and listen to them and bring them into that process, you're never going to, it's just not going to work out the way you want it to. And so, you know, throughout my career, I've been, as you mentioned, I've been in a lot of different industries. And the thing that was the most interesting to me about the restaurant space is that it's kind of lagging when it comes to CRM and loyalty. I think there's been a lot of catch-up that's happened since the pandemic. I think a lot of brands were forced into understanding digital, understanding their customer, and really moving forward that way. But it was definitely not where retail was, where travel was. You know, casinos, oh my gosh, they do phenomenal stuff with their data and understanding their guests. And so for me, moving into the restaurant space was really an opportunity to kind of take everything I've learned from various loyalty programs and CRM programs and bring it to the restaurant space.
Yeah, I love that. And it's interesting because today's consumer is ever changing. And so it's like, how do you actually keep up with that demand?
It's tough. I mean, it really comes down to, for us at least, making sure that we had a MarTech stack at the beginning that enabled us to then free up our time to focus on the strategy, to focus on what do you do with that customer once you've acquired them. You know, making sure that we have a loyalty program that is set up to be more than the earn and burn program, but to have gamification to it, to have personalization to it. I think once you get to that level and that understanding of your guest, then you can keep up with the trends as they change.
Yeah, and you don't always just go to Bright either. When we started working with you guys back in 2016 and 2017, it wasn't just full-blown Chipotle rewards at that point. There was a process and test and learn that occurred throughout the years. Maybe talk to us a little bit about your philosophy around how do you actually get to the data? How long does it take? And then what types of programs do you layer in order to get to the results that you've achieved today?
Yeah, for sure. It definitely takes time. At Chipotle, we actually started our loyalty journey back in 2015. We knew we wanted to do loyalty. We weren't exactly sure how. And back in 2015 especially, there were very few programs in the space, in the restaurant space. So what we started out with doing is dipping our toe in the water. We created a limited time, summer only program called Chiptopia. And it was a chance to see what the customer reaction would be, to understand, and then to learn from it. We learned a lot. We learned we had a super fan base that was ready for a loyalty program. We also learned that the economics that we thought would be the right way to go were not the right way to go from a business perspective. It was a very expensive program, very rich for the guests. And so we took a step back. We then took all of those learnings and spent the next year and a half building out what eventually would become Chipotle Rewards. We then went into proof of concept, 3 months in 3 different markets where we tested it out. We learned more. We chose markets that were highly engaged with the brand down to markets that were not, and understood really what levers we could pull. And then we launched nationally in 2019. So I mean, that right there is a 4-year process just to get to a loyalty program. And even then, what we launched with in 2019 is not the program that you see today. We continue to iterate and learn and build upon. And each time we do that, we make sure that we build in that time to learn. I mean, a test, you could test anything, but it's got to be in the market for at least, a certain number of months in order to hit stat sig, and then you want to evaluate it before you move forward. So I mean, it is the process of testing and learning is a very long one, and I think you've got to be patient with it.
Yeah, and iterative.
Very much so.
We've looked at guac mode. We've looked at Chipotle now. Some of these programs, maybe let's talk about that. So we've got the core Chipotle Rewards program, which is an ongoing evergreen program, but you've layered in these really exciting and engaging kind of surprise and delight style programs that speak to specific types of consumers, whether they are more infrequent than a normal consumer, or whether they only order the same thing every time and you need menu exploration in their lives. How did you guys come to those determinations?
Yeah, so we talked to our customers, and we talked to our customers quite a bit. And one of the first things we heard was that they wanted more surprise and delight. That they loved, to be quite honest, they loved Chick-fil-A. And they loved the local offers and that you would get from your local Chick-fil-A operator. And so we tried to think, how do we deliver that in a way that is uniquely Chipotle, in a way that scratches that itch that the customer has, but also can help drive our business goals. And so guac mode was born out of that. And in order to get it, you had to be signed up by a certain amount of time, and you became guac mode verified. We added a verified badge in your Chipotle account. And if you were qualified for that, then you would get a surprise drop, a free guac throughout the year, up to 10 times. We've taken that and we've built on it, and customers loved it. It was really popular, but we started running into not all of our customers liked guac. Surprisingly, shockingly, it was hard to stomach that news, but we found out that not everyone loves guac. And so we came up with Chipotle, which is a way to give free items ranging from queso, guac, beverages, double protein, different things, and we've modeled out the behavior of our guests so that we're delivering the right offer to the guest at that right time. So if we know your preferences, if we know that maybe you've ordered queso in the past, but your last 3 visits you didn't order queso, your next drop will include a free queso. Things like that, just again, to kind of build that little bit of delight on top of the program that we've already got.
Yeah, I love that. And it doesn't stop there. Chipotle continues to layer in new technologies, and I'll say I experienced one it started a few months back, but I was going to my local, we were talking about this, I was going to my local grocery store, and where I live in Kansas City, it's Chipotle on an end cap with First Watch, Wingstop, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, and then the grocery store. And as I go to the grocery store, I get a push notification on my phone that basically says, hey, we're here, come eat. And surprisingly, after I went and bought all those groceries, what did I have for dinner? We had Chipotle. Because it was timely and it's delicious and it's real, and I feel good when I feed my sons and my family that type of food. And so when you think about the next realm of innovation, where do you see yourselves going?
You know, for us, I would say personalization. It's something that we all, I think, are trying to get to. It's something that we are all building out our tech stacks to get to as well. But it's not as easy as just that. It's been a journey for us. We've been working towards the personalization angle since we launched rewards in 2019. And I think we are just now on the edge of doing it right and making sure that that exact experience that you're having in the restaurant is the same as you're seeing on your app, based on the emails that you're getting, based on the media you're seeing in social. There's a lot of different steps to tie all of that together and to make it really relevant to each individual person, which is really, for us, that's what we're focused on. We've got a great foundation with loyalty and CRM, but now it's time to tie in the rest of the business with that.
Yeah, and it takes a village.
It does.
We talked about best in class versus all in one, and again, as I mentioned earlier, you were one of the first to really dive headfirst into the best in class world and stitch together the best technologies at what they do the best in order to create the experience, the optimal experience that you deliver to your consumers today.
Yep.
Maybe talk a little bit about the partners and how you brought all of them together.
Yeah, it's it's a big question, and I know it was a question that you talked about last year. Honestly, it's a conversation that we have every day at the office. We have proponents in our technology org that would much rather have an all-in-one solution. You reduce failure points by doing that. There's also another camp, which I am solidly in, that says you go for the best in class, and you leverage the vendors and the partners that you have for their strengths, and don't necessarily, it's not worth buying in to something that was just an add-on so that they could say, oh, we've got this huge suite of products. So, so they add it on to try to bring more business in. I don't think that even serves the vendors themselves. And sorry, I don't want to get, I know there's some.
It was a loaded question, sorry.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to tick off some people in the room. For us, even recently, we had two of our largest partners have a lot of overlap in what they do. And we even brought in Gartner to do an analysis of the two and really understand, should we move all to one, or should we continue to use them as the same? And even Gartner came back after the evaluation and said that we were using both vendors as the way that we should be using them, and continue down that path. One of the huge benefits is when you do have a lot of partners, you then are bringing thought leadership from a lot of different spaces, and you're not limited to just one point of view when it comes to your tech stack, which has been really valuable. I'll have to say, a little bit of a plug here for Sparkfly. We've been with Sparkfly for years, 2016?
Yeah.
Goodness, way before I got there. So I inherited the relationship with Sparkfly, and it's been a growing relationship, and now you guys are one of our more trusted partners. But a perfect example is our main contact at Sparkfly is truly an extension of my team, and she is on calls with our other partners. She is acting as a voice even when there's just partner calls going on that we're not a part of. She will speak up for Chipotle as a brand. She has a deep understanding of our ecosystem and how things fit. and how everyone should work together. I think there is a risk if you get partners that don't necessarily want to work within your structure and want to just continue to sell. But I think that we've done a really nice job of instilling in in everyone that we work with that this is kind of the one team, one dream, which is a little overused, but it's true. And I think that by bringing people across the board, you get a much deeper and richer view of the overall digital marketing world.
Yeah, and in our world, I would agree. I think all of our customers who leverage multiple technology partners, but with all those technology partners working together cohesively and willing to work together, it's just a game changer. Because to your point, it's thought leadership coming from every angle and every respective partners innovating in their own right. So there's always that constant churn of, hey, what's next? What can we do? How can we improve? And it really makes a huge difference.
For sure.
So let's talk just briefly on payment technology. And so we know that we talked about it earlier, and it's like the ability for a single tap, pay, add to loyalty, so on, is like where we want to be, but also there's some downfalls to that currently based on how the platforms work and the types of data you're able to collect.
For sure. It's a huge challenge, as great as the contactless payment is. And I mean, for us, throughput is king at Chipotle. And so contactless payment is, we love it. It gets people through the line faster. You get your food. It's really great. I think the challenge is that I'm sure a lot of you all have seen is you start losing the data when you have contactless payment. And that is really a challenge for us. And I think it really shows why it's important to lean into your loyalty program, because if you can get that member scan, then you're not losing the data. But for us, when I first started Chipotle, cash transactions was a very small percentage of our business. Now, all of those contactless payments, whether you're paying through Apple Pay, Google Pay, or even just tapping your card, the minute that happens, you lose a lot of the data that you used to get from from the banks, and makes it very difficult to understand who that guest is. And so, I will say one of the big efforts that we have on our roadmap is trying to figure out a solution that will actually lean into the contactless, but still allow us the data capture. Again, the easiest solution is just getting someone to scan their member card. Unfortunately, when you're at a business, particularly, I don't know if you guys have gone through the line at Chipotle lately, but if throughput is kicking in the lunch hour like it should be, there's a lot of pressure on the guest to pay as quickly as they can because there's people, stacking up behind them. And so we hear from our guests all the time that there's too much pressure at register to remember to scan. And so, how can we make that easier for them and somehow tie that all into their payment so that we're not impeding throughput and we're still capturing all the data?
Yeah, for sure. And if anybody's done it successfully out here, we'd love to talk with you.
Yes, please.
Because it's been a little bit of a black hole for most. So going back to personalization, data is king when it comes back to personalization. And so CDP is a technology acronym that's thrown around quite a bit. And not all CDPs are equal to one another, and not all of them do the same things. What's your experience been with aggregating your data in order to take action on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one pitfall that you run into with a CDP, first of all, I think CDPs are great, and I think that they are, honestly necessary in today's world to take all of your data, blend it together and be able to have that unified view of your guests. The challenge is, it's pretty easy to set up a CDP and pretty quick. A lot of the CDP folks out there, promise pretty quick implementation timelines. I think what you have to watch out for is just because it's quick to stand up doesn't mean it's a fast technology in order to get the use out of it that you need. You do need to have a team dedicated to verifying the data, getting it right, and then spending the time learning from it. We use our CDP. We actually have two in our MarTech stack. One for real-time actioning, and then one that's more holistic of our entire, all of our data sources together. But it takes time and effort and mindfulness to make sure that you're using it how it should be used, and that you're getting the right stuff out of it. We've got a team of folks on our data and analytics side that they are not part of my team, but by God, we are all joined at the hip, and we make sure that we're all on the same page.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point too, because every time we come to meetings with Chipotle or anyone else, it is a mix of digital and marketing and technology and operations and training, all these components really working cohesively together, everybody with a say, in order to make sure the customer experience comes out the way that you need it to.
100%.
Right?
Yep.
How is internally, how have you navigated that?
We've been fairly fortunate at Chipotle. It is an all hands on deck. And I think initially we were boosted by just the knowledge that we have these super fans and how important they are to our business, and that loyalty was there for them. And that gave us the initial spark. After that, though, it kind of waned a little bit, and all of a sudden our partners in different areas weren't as interested in what was going on in the loyalty space. And so it was a little bit of a battle. I will say, as the program has grown, the more members we got and the larger percentage of our business that it became, the more people started to care again. All of a sudden, it wasn't just this small pocket of super fans, but it was a meaningful piece of the business.
Just 40 million people.
Just 40 million people, just a few. All of a sudden, it mattered. Every third person in that line was a rewards member. Everyone ordering in the digital space was a rewards member. So how it became an exercise of just making sure that we're meeting the customer where they are, and not thinking of it as rewards versus everything else, but just as the overall customer. A perfect example is our app. When I first joined, our app was all about commerce, and nothing should get in the way of the guest and their burrito. And but we also built out the app as the optimal experience for Chipotle Rewards. And it took us a while, and it took until we hit large enough numbers for the app team to understand that there are customers coming to the app that aren't using it to order. They're coming to check their points. They're coming to scan in restaurant, to see what their latest challenge, or extra as we call it, is, and really and engage with us that way. And so it's now a new look. Now we're working with that team really closely to make sure that Rewards is integrated throughout the entire app experience. And that was, it came down to how the customer was interacting with us and meeting them where they were, and making sure that we were delivering a product that worked for all of our guests, not just the ones that were ordering.
And I think it's working.
Yeah.
So we're going to switch gears for the last talk point here. Before we do, we're going to take take a look at a quick video.
This could change the world.
A burrito.
Yeah,
It can.
it could.
You are so weird.
It could. It could change how we plant things and grow things. And improve the dirt where we grow those things. It could save water by changing how we use it. It could make us more responsible and sustainable. It could change how we pick things, move things, and transportation things.
What? That's not a thing.
Whatever. It can make our farmers happier, and they can make our animals happier. Can trees be happier? Probably. We could do things more locally, so everyone's happier. More organic, more real. Soil helping, future-facing, less carbon emitting, and world-changing.
Hey, are you still talking?
So it's always not just about the end result. It's also about how we get there and how do we do it in a responsible and sustainable way. Why is that so front and center and core to the Chipotle values?
Yeah, so I mean, our mission is to cultivate a better world, and that's been the same mission we've had since 1993 when we were first founded in Denver. And you know, when I talk about this a lot, I get, yeah, but you do digital marketing. Like, how are you cultivating a better world? And you know, we put that lens on what we're doing as, you know, we are expanding access. We are bringing food, you know, just simply by adding delivery in and being able to make sure that we have coverage on the delivery map to underserved neighborhoods that don't necessarily have the ability for real fresh ingredients. We know that by selling more, we are enabling our farmers and growing that bit of our industry. You know, like, the farming base will grow if we are selling more. And by looking at it more in that way, you know, for us, you know, as a company, I believe we last year purchased 40 million pounds of local produce for our restaurants, which enables those local farmers. I believe the average age of a farmer these days is closing in on, it's in the upper 50s to 60-year-old. You know, the farming industry as a whole is aging out. For us, that's a really, really bad, you know, we want local farms to flourish. So that's not good for our business model. And so we're really investing in our young farmers. We have tons of programs out there for them to grow the next generation of farmers. And none of that would be possible if we're not out there growing our fan base, making these sales, and then, you know, just kind of the supply chain circle of life. But I think if you look at it that way, as opposed to just purely looking at, you know, what are your top line sales you're delivering, you know, what are the bottom line, what's the bottom line, but really thinking about it as having a purpose behind it. Really, it motivates the team to do better work. It motivates, you know, which then encourages our customers to be more involved, you know, even beyond just through the purchase, but actually like caring about our brand and evangelizing. You know, it all becomes a big cycle. So, you know, we feel pretty strongly about our overall purpose.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, I think we'll end there. Jason, it's such a pleasure. Thank you so much for being here.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yep.